Welcome everyone. Today, we are going to get into something that honestly is one of the most powerful concepts in tax planning. We're talking about strategy. This isn't just about dealing with a financial loss after the fact. It's about turning that setback into a genuine, tangible advantage for the future. We're going to explore how you can use losses to intelligently lower your taxable income, not just by the book, but with some really smart, forward-thinking moves.
Just a quick note before we dive in. The material for this explainer was prepared by Samir Al-Rashani with AI support.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we've got to lay the groundwork. We'll talk about the two kinds of income you absolutely need to understand. Then we'll build what I like to call your tax loss toolkit. After that, we'll put it all into practice. We'll follow a case study about an entrepreneur named Bella, looking at a year of loss and then a year of strategic recovery. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with a clear, step-by-step loss ordering strategy that you can apply yourself.
Okay, first things first. Before we can talk strategy, we need to know the basic rules of the game. And in the world of taxes, that means getting a really solid handle on the difference between net income for tax and taxable income. Now, I know they sound almost identical, but trust me, they play completely different roles.
Think of it like this. Net income for tax, over on the left, is the starting point. It's a rigid calculation, a hard number based strictly on this year's figures. There's no wiggle room. But taxable income, that's where the art comes in. That's your playbook. It's the number you can actively, strategically reduce using those losses we talked about. This is where all the real tax planning happens.
So, how exactly do you make those strategic adjustments to your taxable income? Well, you need the right tools for the job, and that's exactly what tax losses are. Think of them as a set of specialized instruments in your financial toolkit, each one designed for a very specific purpose.
And here are the three main tools in that kit. First up, you've got your restricted farm loss. Now this one is highly specialized. It's a precision tool that you can only use against farm income. Simple as that. Then you have your net capital loss. Again, pretty specific. This one can only be used to knock down your taxable capital gains. And finally, we have our most versatile tool, the MVP of the toolkit, the non-capital loss. This is your Swiss Army knife. You can use it against any type of income, which makes it incredibly powerful. But also pay attention to those carry-forward periods on the right. Net capital losses last forever, but the other two expire after 20 years. That's a crucial detail.
Okay, so theory is great, but let's see how this stuff actually works in the real world. We're going to follow the story of Bella. In 2018, she had a really tough financial year, with some pretty significant losses coming in from a few different ventures.
So here's the setup for 2018. Bella does have some employment income coming in, but it's completely swamped by these big losses from her business, a farm, and some investments. But here's the most important part. She has a long-term goal. She knows that in a future profitable year, she needs her taxable income to be at least $30,000. Why? So she can make full use of her non-refundable tax credits. This little piece of foresight is the seed of her entire strategy.
Now, before we get to the fun part, we have to do the mandatory calculation for her 2018 net income for tax. And I have to stress, the order here is non-negotiable. You have to follow this formula exactly as it's laid out by the CRA. You add up your income, subtract any deductions, and then you subtract your business and farm losses. There's no room for creativity in this step.
So let's plug in Bella's numbers. As you can see, she starts with that $15,000 of employment income. Then we subtract her unrestricted farm loss and her business loss. When the dust settles, the math gives us a negative $45,000.
But, and this is a huge but, remember that rule we talked about? Net income per tax can never, ever be negative. So for 2018, her official net income per tax is zero. Now that negative $45,000 doesn't just vanish into thin air. Oh no, it transforms. It becomes a powerful tool that she gets to carry forward and use later.
So at the end of this tough year, Bella's financial toolkit is now fully stocked. She's walking away with three valuable assets: a $32,000 net capital loss, a $4,000 restricted farm loss, and that brand new $45,000 non-capital loss that we just calculated. She is now perfectly positioned for a more profitable future.
All right, let's jump forward to 2019. Her business is turned around, things are looking up, and this is where all that careful planning from the previous year is about to pay off. It's time to put those 2018 losses to work.
And 2019 is a great year for Bella. She's got positive income coming in from all her different ventures. It is the absolute perfect scenario to open up that tax loss toolkit she's been carrying.
So,
First things first, we calculate her 2019 net income for tax, the starting point. Her regular income plus her taxable capital gain gives us a baseline of $61,000. That's the number we are now going to strategically whittle down.
Now the strategy begins. And the golden rule here is to use your most restricted, most specialized tools first. Bella has $3,000 of farm income this year. So, she takes $3,000 of her restricted farm loss and uses it to completely wipe out that farm income. She still has $1,000 of that specific loss left in her toolkit for another year.
Next up, the net capital loss. She has a $22,000 capital gain, and she has more than enough net capital loss carried over. So she applies $22,000 of that loss. And, just like that, her capital gain for the year is zero. It's a perfect surgical strike with a specialized tool.
And now we arrive at the big decision. After using those first two specialized losses, Bella's income is down to $36,000. And she's still holding that super flexible $45,000 non-capital loss. She could easily use it to wipe her income all the way down to zero. But is that the smartest move? This is the moment where simple math ends and true tax planning begins.
So here's what she does, and it's brilliant. From that remaining $36,000 of income, she chooses to apply only $6,000 of her non-capital loss. This brings her final taxable income to exactly $30,000, and it leaves her with a whopping $39,000 of that flexible loss to use in future years.
And there it is, $30,000. Not zero. This number is not an accident. It is the precise, calculated result of a well-executed plan that she put into motion all the way back in 2018.
So what was so special about $30,000? Why was that the magic number? Because that was the exact amount of income Bella needed to claim all of her available non-refundable tax credits. You see, if she had reduced her income to zero, she wouldn't have owed any tax anyway, and all of those valuable credits would have been lost. Forever. This is tax strategy at its absolute finest. It's about shifting your mindset from seeing a loss as just a failure to seeing it as a valuable asset you can use to manage your financial health for years to come.
Okay, so let's boil everything we learned from Bella's fantastic example down into a clear, repeatable strategy that you can use to think about your own finances.
Here are the core rules for your playbook. Number 1, always try to use your most restricted losses first, your farm and capital losses. Get them out of the way. Number 2, don't just blindly aim for zero taxable income. That's often a mistake. Preserve just enough income to make sure you use up all your non-refundable tax credits. Third, keep an eye on the calendar. Remember that most losses expire in 20 years. And that leads to the final point. If a loss is about to expire, use it. Break the ordering rules if you have to, because a loss that expires is a wasted opportunity.
So what you can see is that this is so much more than just damage control for a bad year. This is about actively turning a negative into a long-term positive. The goal isn't just to pay zero tax this year, it's about maximizing the value of all your resources over the long haul. So now that you've seen how the strategy works, the real question is, how will you plan for your next financial year?